Build show today, one of my favorite topics, HVAC systems. Now we're back at the Ready Frame house that we built, and hopefully you saw our video about that. This is a house that Luke, one of my project managers, is building for his personal family. And we're upstairs and we're about to walk into the upstairs mechanical room. And check this out, we've got some really nice equipment in here. But this video specifically, we're gonna be talking about this. This is a Brown AI Series B150 energy recovery ventilator. This is providing fresh air continuously to this entire house. This is a beautiful system. The thing I like about this is it's more of an everyman's system than some of the other ones we've looked at in the past. You're talking about maybe $3,000 to $6,000 installed. And in this video, we're gonna get into all the details, how it works, ways that you could install it, the way you commission it. We got all kinds of nerdy stuff today. Today's build show is sponsored by Brown. Let's get going. All right, guys, let me introduce you to Ignacio. Ignacio is with New Results AC. Ignacio, beautiful install in this house, man.
Thank you, Matt.
Really good work. Now, talk to me about this Brown ERV. I know you've installed all kinds of different systems with all kinds of different ducting, but what is it about this Brown that you like?
Neat thing about it is we got two different configurations with Brown. Once this up, there's another configuration where you can go sideways.
Oh, that's nice.
Form factor is a lot smaller than the other units, so in smaller mechanical rooms, it's really easy to install.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, in this room, it's not a huge room, but once you get equipment in, it really it tightens down, doesn't it?
Exactly. So having a smaller form factor, now being able to commission and balance it all through either the unit itself or a remote controller makes it so much easier
That is pretty
than
nice.
having to mess with dampers in order to get it.
Let's, why don't you pop that door open? Let's look at that core, and I'm curious what we need to know about maintenance for a unit like this, okay? So two latches on the bottom there. And you also notice that Nacho's team put a piece of plywood up on the side, screwed it to the wall, so we've got a nice install off the floor. And then this is actually the core on the unit that's doing the moving of both heat and moisture, right?
Correct. So it actually tempers the air without mixing it.
Yeah.
So we're removing stale air, bringing in fresh air, and we're able to filter it through this MERV 13 filter.
That's nice, it's got a MERV 13.
As far as...
And what are the four pipes? Talk us through that.
So we got four pipes. Essentially, we got air coming in, stale air coming out,
Yep.
and we're bringing in some of the stale air from the bathrooms, kitchen, mudroom, and then dumping fresh air into the bedrooms. That's where we want it, right?
Got
So
it.
we're sleeping in the bedroom, we're getting that fresh air.
Yeah, and I really like that you've got hard pipe going to all these locations. That's all rigid metal that's been insulated on the outside. Is that what I'm looking at?
Correct. So that's cutting down on the friction, so we're able to get the air to
The air movement we need.
the air movement we need.
Now you could have done this in a flex install, right?
Correct. Yeah. So value engineer or a more affordable. Instead of going through every room, we could tie it into their HVAC system. That cut down cost.
Yep.
And also use flex or something a little more
Budget oriented.
budget oriented.
Yeah, I would tell you this is definitely a top of line install. You did a great job.
Thank you, Matt.
But this unit itself is not that expensive. My understanding, this is like maybe $1,500 or so for the unit
Box
itself.
itself is around $1,500.
not bad at all.
I'm sure you got the controllers and some extra features
Yeah.
around the $1,500 mark.
But this install is not the budget install. This is definitely more the Cadillac install. I suspect this is somewhere in the $5,000 to $6,000 range for this install, but it could have been done potentially with Flex for a little bit less. So if you're thinking about one of these units, this is definitely, as I said earlier, a bit of an everyman option. But a lot of houses just have exhaust-only strategies. So if you've done that in the past, remember, you've got a budget for this. This is definitely going to be more expensive than just an exhaust bath fan, and that's it. Trying to put a negative pressure on the house and maybe some April air damper on the fresh air side of the return.
Correct.
Any comments on that?
Well, pretty much what we want to do is dilute the air inside the house
Yeah.
and get fresh air, right? The tighter you build a house, as you do,
Yeah.
the better you got ventilate.
The analogy I love, Nacho, is if you've ever been in your car and your engine's running, you feel really fresh in there. You know, these days I'll take a Zoom call in my truck for 30 minutes. As long as my engine's going, no problem. I feel great in there, even on a comfortable day where I'm not necessarily using air conditioning. But even if it's nice outside, I turn that engine off, how long does it take to sit in your car until all of a sudden that air feels stale, right?
Exactly.
And that's what this is. This is that little tiny engine only drawing a few watts of power, but keeping that air fresh. It's as if you just cracked your windows on your truck, and on the nice day, all of a sudden you're comfortable. But if those windows are up, your house is built tight like it should be, now all of a sudden it doesn't take long to get uncomfortable. This is going to continuously bring in a little bit of fresh air and exhaust that same amount of stale air out of the house.
Yeah, and in a controlled manner, right? So, and also, like you've done in other videos, you can get rid of some of the exhaust fans by doing continuous ventilation.
That's right.
Through it,
Yeah, we have actually eliminated 2 or 3 exhaust fans because we've got this unit going. Ignacio, beautiful work, man.
Thank you.
Really impressive.
Thanks, Matt.
Let's switch gears and I'm going to bring Travis, the tech guy, in, and let's actually talk about commissioning this unit. All right, guys, let me introduce you to Travis with Brown. Travis, thanks for joining me on the job site, brother.
Matt.
So tell me about this AI series. First off, what's the AI mean?
Yeah, so AI is for artificial intelligence. So this system has built into it technology to help both the commissioning process as well as be able to maintain the overall performance of the unit over life.
Very cool. Now, most of the time we're commissioning this at the end of the project. We're still in the mechanical phase here. But Travis, I brought my little Milwaukee battery up here so that we could actually plug it in. Will you walk us through what commissioning would look like at the end of the job?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, in this case, we still have some windows missing. We still have, drywall not on. So certainly some things can be changing during the overall balancing process, commissioning process. With the artificial intelligence, if I do this balancing today, and after the install, after Luke's moved in, we know that that same balancing commission is going to be set regardless of what changes, both in the interior as well as the exterior.
That's pretty cool. And what does that look like? What's actually happening on this controller down here?
Yeah, so when you look at the overall unit, something that's unique to this product is the integrated LCD screen and the control board itself. So once all the ducting is done, and the team here has done a fantastic job with this ductwork, very impressive.
Yeah.
Love to see this type of work being done. So once all the ductwork is done, you plug the unit in, there are no more tools that you need for the commissioning process. So,
wow, so no flow hoods or anything necessary?
No magnet helix gauges, no adjusting of dampers.
Wow.
Everything is done from the installing contractor standpoint on that LCD screen through those few buttons.
That's pretty cool. And then you've got another controller that's going to live somewhere in the house as well for this unit too, right?
Yeah, so we have a number of different optional wall controls, main wall controls, to give that homeowner a little bit more interaction with that fresh air system. They can set speeds. If they're maybe away for vacation, they can go ahead and put in vacation mode. So gives them a lot of flexibility in the overall operation of the fresh air system.
Got it. Now this particular unit, talk to me about what normal runtime and talk to me about what boost mode means.
Yeah, so with a house like this, around 3,200 square feet, if we do some of the ASHRAE calculations, we're looking at about 70 CFM as what we'd want from a continuous standpoint. And then from a max speed standpoint, we have a full range in this platform. We have units that top out at 110 CFM, units that go up to 160 CFM.
Okay.
So this particular unit being the B150, we'd expect that to be topping out around that 150 CFM range, which will be more than adequate for what Luke has here.
Yeah.
With the guys pulling that stale air out of the bathrooms, like you said, boost mode, giving that whoever's using that bathroom be able to push that button, let it boost into speed. So,
okay, so there's going to be a button on the wall that would talk back to this unit and say, hey, kick into high gear.
Exactly. Some simple thermostat wire that runs down to that boost switch. The person pushes that boost switch. It's going to boost this into that 150 CFM setting for a 20-minute, 40-minute, or 60-minute duration, depending on what you pick. And then, again, we're going to extract that humidity maybe out of the shower area in that time frame, and then it'll return back to that continuous CFM setting.
And then if someone wants to change some of those settings, let's say we've got it set up for this family of 4 that's going to live here, but a single person or a bigger family moves into this house, is it possible to change all those settings in the future to go, okay, we only actually need 50 CFM continuous here, or we need 90 CFM?
Yeah, and that's the great thing about having the controls built onto the unit. You can either do it at the unit itself, or you can do it through any of those wall controls that we had talked about previously.
That's pretty cool. Anything else we need to know about install style here? Ignacio mentioned this is an upflow, and they make some horizontal mount units. Other options from Brown or things that we should know about?
Yeah, so in the AI series, as Ignacio mentioned, we have this top port unit here. We have side port units in through those different CFM ranges that I mentioned. So giving the installer, contractor, architect, engineer flexibility Again, depending on your mechanical room size, you
Yeah.
may not always have the necessary space. This particular platform is very compact for the CFM that's outputting, but we as Brown also have both smaller units for lower CFM, maybe smaller houses, as well as some very large units, 250 plus CFM
Wow.
on the residential side.
Big boys.
Yeah.
Let's take 1 minute and tell us the difference between an HRV and an ERV. And people that are watching this are kind of all over North America. So which model would they want?
Yeah, so an HRV, heat recovery ventilator, that's really where we're dealing with the sensible or the temperature. So what the difference is between the outside air and our stale air removing from the home, what that difference is what we're going to recover. With a ERV, we're also, on top of the sensible, we're also going to retain latent or moisture. So particularly in hot, humid south here in Austin, we're going to be able to take advantage of that core that you guys had shown, being able to retain some of that moisture and taking it out of the airstream that's entering the home.
So in general, I tell people if you're in the south, you absolutely want an ERV. If you're in the north, you can use an ERV as well, but an HRV can be a good budget choice. Typically an HRV is going to be a less cost unit because there's less technology involved. But you could even still use an ERV in the north. The colder the climate, the less you necessarily need that ERV typically, but ultimately that's a humidity issue. And I would tell you, if you're in the south like I am, you also want to have your dehumidifier. And right in front of us here, Travis, just to make mention of it, is your Brown 70H model. So this is handling the dehumidification for the house, even though, of course, I've got an air conditioner, right? I've got a Mitsubishi heat pump right behind me. This is a separate controller on the wall that says, when it's more humid in the house, kick this on and bring that humidity down. And the ERV, you always need to remember, could in time, not could, will in time raise the humidity of the house. Not a ton because it's moving that moisture, but some amount. And this ERV is not a dehumidifier. You're going to not see any drain pipe there, whereas this is going to have a drain attached to it. And that's going to move the moisture from the air down the drain, and that's when dehumidification happens. So that ERV is going to do a great job of moving a lot of that latent moisture, the water that's in the air as it comes into the house, but it's not perfect. It's not 100% efficient at that. No units are. So I think if you're in the south, you want to have a separate dehumidifier as well. Any comments on that?
Yeah, supplemental dehumidification, particularly during those shoulder seasons, maybe when your air handler isn't necessarily running due to the outdoor temperature. Certainly having this supplemental dehumidifier makes your overall house more comfortable.
For sure. And I always say it's not HVAC, it's HVAC plus D. Heating, cooling, ventilation, and air conditioning. That's what we've got here. We've got this unit over here bringing the heating and the cooling. We've got this unit doing the V for ventilation, and then this is the D for dehumidification. Fantastic install by Ignacio. Any last comments, Travis?
No, not at all.
How can people learn more about your systems?
Yep, so we can reach out via our website, www.brown.com.
Actually, one last question before we wrap, Travis. How can people, or is there any help on your website for sizing of these units and understanding what model they might want for their house?
Yeah, so on our website, you get to our Fresh Air Systems page. We have kind of run you through how do you size your system, what types of systems you can select. We also have code tools, so if you're in a certain jurisdiction that maybe requires or incentivizes the use of one of these systems, you're able to put in all your, your location. It's going to tell you, what you need from a system, and then ultimately take you to that web page for that product.
I love it. Man, Travis, thank you for joining me on the job site.
Absolutely.
Guys, big thanks to Brown for sponsoring today's video. And if you are considering a system, I highly, highly recommend you consider the Browns. These are really, really nice systems. If you're not currently a subscriber, guys, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.